How's it going, everybody? I hope you all are having a happy Mother's Day and a good weekend in general. Today is the day that you've all been waiting for, and that is my Q&A video, which I've been putting off for a while because I've been pretty busy, but I finally have time to do it today. So in advance, I want to thank all of you for sending me questions, and I will answer every single one of them starting right now. All right, our first couple questions come from Mr. Rebel247, who asks, favorite movie genre? For me, it would be crime drama or gangster movie. I've really always been fascinated with kind of that genre. I don't know what it is. It's just so engaging. It's just so exciting and just so interesting to me. I mean, I just personally love it so much. Favorite TV show apart from Breaking Bad? Nice desktop pick. Yeah, thanks for noticing. Breaking Bad, yeah, is my favorite show on television right now. I mean, the writing and the acting and everything about it is just perfect. But my two favorite shows beside that are Community and Parks and Recreation, which are two of the funniest shows, I think, on television right now. If you haven't seen either of those shows, they are highly underrated and you should check them out. The next couple questions come from MovieFan978, and he asks, are there any films that hold a lot of nostalgia for you? Well, for me personally, one of the biggest films that I have a very strong nostalgic pull to is The Lion King, because it's actually the very first film I ever actually saw, or at least remember seeing in the theater, and that image of Mufasa falling into the stampede will forever be burned into my brain from that experience. It's probably the first really strong impression I got from a movie that I saw, and I just love that movie in general. It's one of my favorites. Also, I really love Back to the Future. Back to the Future, to me, I think is just one of the best blends of sci-fi, comedy, and it's just a great movie. I mean, I actually remember one day when I was younger, I actually sat down and watched all three Back to the Future movies in one sitting, and it was pretty awesome. Are there any movies you quote a lot of the time? Well, movies generally that I quote a lot are comedies, so I would definitely say Anchorman I quote all the time. I definitely say, like, I immediately regret this decision, or, you know, I'm not even mad, that's amazing. I mean, I love Anchorman, so many great lines in that. And also for me, one of my favorite comedies is Tommy Boy, and I love Tommy Boy, and I say that all the time. I mean, I think personally Tommy Boy just really connects with me because it's such a Midwestern kind of film. I mean, I'm from Chicago. I'm from, you know, the city and from the suburbs of Chicago, and like I just really connect with that film. And I love Chris Farley. He's hysterical in it. And yeah. The next couple of movie questions come from Ronet, who's a very good YouTube movie critic on here. You should definitely check out his channel. Favorite movie soundtracks? Well, recently I say Drive was pretty awesome to me because I'm a sucker for synthesizer and 80s music, so that really quenched my thirst for that. I also really like the soundtrack to Forrest Gump. I mean, I'm a big classic rock guy, and that movie just had like a plethora of classic rock hits and awesome classics and all that. I also really like the Departed soundtrack for some reason. I mean, Scorsese movies in general always have great soundtracks, but for me, The Departed had just a really great, like, I mean, Dropkick Murphys and that cover of Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd, really perfect. And pretty much any Quentin Tarantino soundtrack. I mean, the guy knows his music. Favorite movie trailers? Well, recently I'd say probably The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the first trailer, the one that's cut really fast to Immigrant Song. That trailer just blew my mind. It's one of those trailers that you just have to stop what you're doing and just really pay attention to, and it just grabs your attention and lets go in under a minute and a half. I think it's pretty genius. I also really like the trailer for the original Alien from Ridley Scott. I mean, if you ever watch it on YouTube, it's like one of the creepiest little trailers. It doesn't really tell you that much about the movie, but it just gives you this ominous sense of foreboding and menace and all that, and it's just creepy as hell. Also, I really like the Inception trailer. I mean, when that first came out, I was just, my mind was blown, and the music that was in that trailer also just really perfect. Top 5 directors, actors, and actresses. Okay, here we go. For directors, I'm going to say top 6 because I have too many that are my favorites. But if I were to narrow down what my 6 favorite directors are, it would have to be Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, Stanley Kubrick, Christopher Nolan, the Coen brothers, and David Fincher. In terms of top 5 actors, I'd have to say right now it's Ryan Gosling, Michael Fassbender, Tom Hardy, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Bryan Cranston. And then in terms of top 5 actresses, my personal favorites are Kate Winslet, Jessica Chastain, Emma Stone, Emily Blunt, and Carey Mulligan. Favorite/least favorite movie genres? Well, favorite genres, I kind of already covered this, but I really like crime dramas and gangster movies, but I also really like sci-fi movies. But I pretty much like any kind of genre. If it's a really good movie, I really like it. Least favorite, though, I just absolutely abhor costume dramas. They're just so stuffy and just so boring and just very uninteresting to me. Next question comes from Crazy A-Train, who asks, I know you're going to school. What are you studying right now? Yes, I am actually going to college right now. I'm going to college at DePaul University in Chicago, and I am currently studying digital cinema. It's basically the film program, but we use like the Red and a couple other very high-tech digital cameras that they're actually using out in Hollywood right now. So I really want to be a filmmaker when I get out of school, so hopefully that'll pan out well. Next set of questions comes from Alan Gunn 97, who asks, goriest movies you've ever seen? Well, 3 that come to mind right away are Saving Private Ryan, which that D-Day sequence alone is just so unbelievably gory. Black Hawk Down actually is pretty intense too, so I would say Black Hawk Down also. But probably the goriest movie I've ever seen is probably RoboCop. I mean, even today, I just saw that movie like a year ago, and it's shocking. Like, I feel like I've been very desensitized to violence on screen, but RoboCop just is so shocking. I mean, limbs go flying off with shotguns, and just, it's crazy. I mean, I love RoboCop. It's a great movie, but man, is it gory. Most overrated/underrated movies in your opinion? Well, when I think about overrated movies, I would have to name Kick-Ass. You know, I didn't really think, I mean, I don't hate Kick-Ass. I just don't think it's as great as everybody says it is. I mean, the kid who plays Kick-Ass, Aaron Johnson, he just annoyed the crap out of me in that movie, and I just did not like him at all. Hangover, I just never really found was funny at all. I mean, everybody loved it, and everybody, you know, I hate like that all movies are compared to that now, and I just never found it that funny. I think it's just mean-spirited and just stupid. Gran Torino, again, I don't hate the movie, but I feel like without Clint Eastwood in the movie would really suffer because all the other actors in the movie are frankly terrible. Slumdog Millionaire, I mean, that's an obvious one because, you know, everybody, I mean, it was a big hit when it came out because of the time that it came out, but I just never really got as into the movie as everybody else did. The Birds, actually, is another one, which I love Hitchcock. Hitchcock's a fantastic director. He's in my top 10 directors, but I just never really got into The Birds. I mean, I feel like the first hour is just kind of boring, and then it just kind of ends. It's very anticlimactic, but that's just my opinion. As far as underrated movies go, I would have to say Munich is criminally underrated. One of Spielberg's best movies, and it just kind of came and went when it came out in 2005. It's a fantastic movie. Brick, which I actually just saw yesterday for the first time, which I don't know why it took me that long, but Brick is amazing. Brick is a terrific movie. It's Joseph Gordon-Levitt, directed by Rian Johnson. Really stellar film noir and really amazing. Collateral, which is actually the first R-rated movie that I ever saw in the theater, and I still love Collateral to death. I mean, Tom Cruise plays a hell of a villain. Jamie Foxx is great in it. I mean, just the whole atmosphere, Michael Mann's direction is perfect in that movie. And I feel like not too many people know about that, but I love Collateral. Also, Zodiac. I mean, David Fincher, this might be his best film that he's ever made. It's just so fascinating, and you just get really sucked up into the investigation. And it's another one that just kind of came and went under the radar. But I love Zodiac. I love this movie called That Thing You Do, which is written and directed by Tom Hanks. It's about this one-hit wonder band in the 60s. It's hilarious, and it's awesome, but like no one has ever heard of it. And I quote, that's actually another movie that I quote a lot. If you haven't seen That Thing You Do, you should definitely check that one out. Favorite film score? Well, I have a lot of favorite film scores, but I mean, recently, if I were to pick one, I'd have to say that Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross's score for The Social Network is pretty much awesome. I mean, as soon as I saw that movie, I downloaded the entire soundtrack and the score to it, and I pretty much played it on loop for the next 6 months or so. Favorite villain? Well, this one I think is a tie between Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men and the Joker from The Dark Knight. If you could stop one movie currently in production, what would it be? Without a doubt, it would be Ninja Turtles. I mean, Michael Bay has already raped my childhood enough. Why does he have to keep doing this? Just stop. The next set of questions comes from MovieMan222, and he asks, favorite film of all time? Well, I mean, this one's kind of tricky because Saving Private Ryan is like the film that made me really get into film and like really want to be a filmmaker, but it's not exactly a film I'd watch over and over again, but definitely a film that without a doubt I would watch over and over again and never get sick of is Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas. I love that movie. Favorite movie character? It's tough, but I guess I gotta go with Indiana Jones. I mean, Harrison Ford, he's a badass. Favorite action scene in a movie? Definitely would be the truck chase / the truck flip sequence in The Dark Knight. I remember the first time I saw The Dark Knight in IMAX, it was incredible, and people went crazy during the sequence, and it's unlike anything I've ever seen before, and it was just such a rush. Guilty pleasures? Well, personally, I really like Grease. I don't know why. It's just, I've always had a fascination with that movie since I was like in elementary school. For some reason it was big in elementary school when I was like in 6th grade, and it's kind of weird to think about like this this movie about 50s high school students being big in like 6th grade. But I've always really liked Grease. I don't know why. I mean, the music's catchy. I really like this movie called Rocket Man. It's a Disney movie that it stars Harland Williams. It kind of came and went when it came out, but it's one of the dumbest movies I've ever seen, but I just laugh hysterically every time I see it. I don't know why, but I love Rocket Man. You should check that one out too. And finally, the last set of questions I have comes from Cali Critic Reviews. He's a good buddy of mine on YouTube. He's a great movie critic. You should check out his channel if you haven't already. He asks, what are your favorite directors that don't get enough credit they deserve today? Well, this is a good question. I mean, I think Edgar Wright is one of them. I mean, he's big amongst like film buffs myself, but like if I ask like one of my casual friends, like, yeah, don't you love Edgar Wright? And they're like, who? But I love everything that he's done. Like even Spaced, the TV show he did, brilliant. Rian Johnson is another one because I just saw Brick, like I said yesterday, and I loved Brick. I thought it was amazing. He also directed the Fly episode of Breaking Bad, which is one of my all-time favorite episodes of that show, and I'm really looking forward to Looper. He's just so unique and different in his style, and I just really like what he's doing. Duncan Jones is another one too. I mean, he's only had 2 movies come out, Moon and Source Code, but they're both excellent sci-fi films, and he's just really underrated in my opinion. Nicholas Winding Refn too, because I mean, the guy did Bronson and Drive. I mean, they're awesome movies. He's gonna blow up soon, but I feel like he still hasn't gotten enough credit that they have today. Worst movie you've seen so far this year? Oh yeah, that would be Battleship. Don't want to think about that movie again. Best movie you've seen so far this year? Well, for me, it's a tie between The Cabin in the Woods and The Avengers. But if I had a gun to my head, I'd probably pick The Cabin in the Woods just because it's got just a tighter story and it's just crazy and just awesome. Favorite screenwriters? Well, for me, it's down to 4 that I really love. It's Quentin Tarantino, Aaron Sorkin, Joss Whedon, and the Coen brothers. I'm a really big fan of witty dialogue and really clever writing, and those guys are pretty much the kings of clever writing. So again, I want to thank you all for sending in all your questions, and I'm very happy to answer them all. If you have any additional questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I will try to get back to them. I think the next review I'm going to be doing will be Men in Black 3, which will be next week at some point if I get a screening. And if you like this review, hit that subscribe button up there so you can get more reviews from me. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the other side.